He was sitting in the driver's seat with his hands at 10 and 2. The officer's flashlight was on his face. The phone was on the passenger seat, screen down, still warm from the call he had just ended. And then came the sentence that changes everything in a traffic stop in America. Unlock your phone. 3 words, that was all the officer said. And what this driver said back, 3 words of his own, ended the entire stop in under 90 seconds. No search, no arrest, no ticket. He drove home that night. Most people in his exact situation do not. Tonight, I am going to show you why. Stay with me on this one, because the moment you understand what happened in that car, you will never look at a traffic stop the same way again. I am going to walk you through this case the way a defense attorney would walk a jury through it. Slowly, carefully, and by the end you will know the exact 3 words, the law that backs them, and the one mistake almost every driver makes in the first 60 seconds of a stop. If you want to keep learning how real people protect themselves with real law, the subscribe button is right there. It costs you nothing. It might one day save you everything. Act 1. The night the lights came on. His name does not matter for this story, so let us call him Daniel. Daniel is 34 years old. He works in logistics. He has a daughter in 2nd grade and a wife who waits up for him on the nights he works late. On the night this happened, he was driving home on a 4-lane road just outside the city limits, doing 2 miles under the speed limit, which is what tired men do when they want to get home without incident. His phone had just rung. It was his brother. They spoke for less than a minute. Daniel hung up, set the phone face down on the passenger seat, and kept driving. 40 seconds later, the lights came on behind him. Now, put yourself in his seat for a moment, because the first thing that happens to every human being when those lights appear in the rearview mirror is not legal. It is biological. Your heart rate climbs, your palms get warm, your brain starts scanning the last 5 minutes of your life looking for something, anything you might have done wrong. And in that exact moment of confusion is when most people lose the stop before it has even started. Daniel almost did, but he took a slow breath. He put both hands on the top of the steering wheel, where they could be clearly seen, and he waited. The officer approached from the rear driver's side. Flashlight up. The first words were the standard ones, license and registration. Daniel handed them over without a word. And here is where the night turned. The officer looked into the car, swept the flashlight across the passenger seat, and saw the phone, face down. The screen is warm, and he said it. Sir, I need you to unlock your phone for me. Act 2. The law nobody taught you. Now I need you to understand something, and I need you to understand it deeply, because this is the part of the law that almost nobody on the road actually knows. In the United States of America, a police officer at a routine traffic stop has no legal authority to demand that you unlock your phone. None. Zero. The Supreme Court of the United States settled this question in 2014 in a case called Riley versus California. 9 justices, unanimous, not a single dissent. The court held that the data on your cell phone is so vast, so personal, and so revealing of the private details of your life that the police cannot search it without a warrant, even after an arrest. And if they cannot search it after an arrest without a warrant, they certainly cannot search it during a routine stop where you have not been arrested at all. Read that again in your head. The highest court in the country has already decided this for you. You do not have to argue it. You do not have to prove it. You only have to know it. But here is the trap, and this is the trap that 9 out of 10 drivers fall into. The officer is not legally allowed to take your phone and search it, but you are legally allowed to hand it over. The moment you unlock that phone and pass it through the window, you have given what the law calls consent. And consent is the master key that opens every door the Constitution was built to keep shut. A search that would have been illegal 60 seconds ago becomes perfectly legal the instant you say yes, or the instant you say nothing at all and just hand it over. Silence in the face of a request is often treated as agreement. That is the trap. So, what does the law actually require you to do during a traffic stop? Very little. You are required to provide your license, your registration, and your proof of insurance. In most states, you are required to identify yourself. You are required to step out of the vehicle if the officer lawfully orders you to. That is the entire list. You are not required to answer questions about where you are going, where you are coming from, who you were just talking to, what is in your trunk, or what is on your phone. And you are absolutely not required to unlock anything for anyone without a warrant signed by a judge. This is not a loophole, this is the Fourth Amendment, written by men who had lived under a government that searched whenever it pleased. They wrote those words specifically so that you, 230 years later, could sit in your car on the side of a road and say no. Act 3. The 3 words. So back to Daniel. The officer asks him to unlock his phone. Daniel looks at the officer. He keeps his hands where they are. His voice is calm. He is not angry. He is not afraid. He is something more powerful than either of those. He is informed. And he says 3 words. I do not consent. That is the whole sentence. 5 syllables, 1 breath, no argument, no lecture, no long explanation about the Fourth Amendment or what some lawyer on the internet told him. He does not raise his voice. He does not reach for his phone to hide it. He does not lie about who was on the call. He simply says the only sentence the law actually needs to hear from him in that moment. I do not consent. And here is what happens next. And this is the part most people will never believe until they see it for themselves. The officer pauses, because the officer also knows the law. The officer knew the law the entire time. The request was a test. It is almost always a test. And the moment a driver refuses consent clearly, calmly, and without hostility, the officer's options collapse to 2. Either he has independent probable cause to seize the phone and apply for a warrant, which on a routine traffic stop he almost never does, or he moves on. In Daniel's case, the officer moved on. He went back to his cruiser. He ran the license. He came back. He handed the documents through the window. He said, drive safely. And that was the end of it. No search, no ticket, no arrest. 3 words, 90 seconds. Done. Act 4. The mistakes that cost everything. Now I want to tell you what the other drivers do. The ones whose stories do not end on the shoulder of the road. Because the same mistakes show up again and again. And I want you to recognize every single one of them. The first mistake is talking too much. The officer asks where you are coming from, and the driver tells him the whole story of his evening. Every sentence is a new thread to pull. The law does not require you to narrate your life to a stranger with a badge. A polite, I would rather not answer, is a complete sentence. The second mistake is the nervous yes. The officer asks, do you mind if I take a quick look in your car? The driver, wanting to seem cooperative, says, sure, go ahead. And in that one word, he has waived a protection the Constitution gave him for free. You can be polite and still say no. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Memorize that sentence the way you memorized your own phone number. The third mistake is the unlock. Same family as the second, but worse because the phone contains more of your life than your car ever will. Photos, messages, bank apps, locations, every conversation you have had in the last 2 years. When you hand over an unlocked phone, you are not handing over a device. You are handing over a diary. The fourth mistake is anger. Anger gives the officer a reason to extend the stop. Anger turns a 90-second encounter into a 90-minute encounter, and sometimes into a night in a holding cell. The law rewards calm. Be calm. The fifth mistake is forgetting the one question that ends almost every prolonged stop. Officer, am I being detained or am I free to go? Say it once. Say it clearly. If the answer is you are free to go, then go. If the answer is you are being detained, then say nothing else and ask for a lawyer. Those are the 2 roads. There is no third one. Act 5. What you take home tonight. I want to leave you with one thought. The rights written into the Constitution of this country do not protect themselves. They are not automatic. They do not show up in the car with you when the lights come on behind you. They live in your mouth. They live in the words you choose in the 90 seconds that matter. A right you do not know about is a right you do not have. A right you know about but are too afraid to use is a right you have already given away. Daniel knew. Daniel used it. Daniel went home. Somewhere tonight, on some road in some town, another driver is going to see those lights in the rearview mirror. He is going to roll down his window. An officer is going to ask him to unlock his phone, and the rest of his life is going to depend on whether he knows the 3 words you just learned. I hope it is you. I hope you remember. I hope you stay calm, and I hope you go home. If this helped you, send it to one person you love. A son, a daughter, a friend who drives late at night. One share, one person. That is how rights stay alive in a country. We teach each other. Subscribe so the next lesson finds you before you need it. I will see you in the next one. Drive safe out there.